Welcome to Knock 'em Dead, a comedy podcast that deals with the one thing we all experience, yet never talk about: death. Episode 6, After Death Communication. After death communication, one of the more divisive issues since Kanye and Kim. People will throw down either there's no afterlife communication, Santa is alive, Jesus is dead, and Kanye is shit. Or, if you're my mom, Jesus is risen, anything is possible, and who the hell are Kim and Kanye? I'm so skeptical, I refused to call mom and dad parents until they submitted a saliva swab. I'm such a skeptic that the idea that they could visit me after death seemed ridiculous. I mean, they were hard enough to deal with when they were alive. So my mom gets stage time after her final curtain call? That was a hard nay for me, until I was forced to navigate a world without her, and without her telling me which skirt made my thighs look big. I suddenly found myself longing for her momness and her opinions on my thighs, and I was met with silence. Until one Mother's Day, I experienced the inexplicable. My mom, gone for over a year, found a way to communicate with me. And it wasn't about my thighs. In a world of cynicism, do you believe it? Would you notice it if it happened to you? Or would you change the channel and miss out on the magic? I'm Rachel Bradley, with my co-host Christopher Titus. This is Knock 'em Dead.
Hey, what's up, guys? It is another episode of Knock 'em Dead.
Knock 'em dead!
I am here with my co-host.
Co-host!
Oh my god. Started off with a bang, haven't we? This is where you say your name.
Oh, hi, it's Christopher Titus here on the Knock 'em Dead podcast.
Oh my god.
Right.
And also, not usually to my left, quite like this, is...
Who am I? There could be what? I need
No,
another
Ken
Hylinder.
who's out.
Okay, maybe we
Ken
should
Hylinder.
start over.
This feels like a near-death experience. Very chaotic.
I wish it were actually a death experience. So today we are talking about after-death communications. I find this, I'm kind of fascinated by
Do you believe in it?
what people say on, comments and stuff. And we had teased that we were going to talk about near death or after death communication, and someone was like, "Oh man, you guys are usually, I like you because you keep it real. Can't believe you're going to talk about any weird humbo jumbo," or whatever the phrase is.
Mumbo jumbo's right.
Whatever.
Or humbo
stuff
jumbo.
like that. And I thought, well, we didn't say what we were going to say about it. We were just going to talk about it. It's often called an ADC, an after death communication. So if you want to be hip in the death world, you would say ADC.
I had an ADC.
Isn't that where you live behind the house? That's an
That's
when
an
you
AD.
die and then you go. I get
That's
it.
a UPS. Wait, no,
No.
that's the guys that.
That's
Oh
an
my
RSV. No, that's
So there was a study done, Galileo Commission reports. They did 1,600, little over like 1,667 cases of people saying that they had this happen. A total of 20.1% were found to be evidential, to actually have evidence. So I thought that was kind of interesting. In people who had them throughout recorded history, if it includes religious visions, Jesus is the most famous example. So does that mean people are having ADCs about
With
Jesus'
Jesus.
death?
Yeah, but is that something to do with the grief you're feeling? Is that your brain
ADCs
trying to save itself?
Are estimated to occur in 35 to 40% of the population. They are extremely comforting and helpful to people who are grieving. It's interesting if you go back to our first episode with Dr. Alexander, who had an NDE. There's all kinds of acronyms. That obviously there is something, right? There's, he experienced the something.
Yeah.
But I personally, I am a cynic. I think everybody knows that.
Mildly skeptical?
You guys put up with that all the time.
I'm mildly testicle also.
And I personally have experienced some otherwise inexplicable things that I was not looking for, that I would not have said I necessarily...
not like levitation or head spinning, but like...
No, not quite there.
No one crawled out of a well is what you're saying and haunted you.
No.
Okay, there you go. I just want to be clear.
Aunt Kathy, his aunt,
Yeah.
she saw
My Uncle Eddie.
physically saw him in the hallway of her home.
My
standing
Uncle
there.
Eddie died. Not great. He died.
Does anyone die great?
I think Grandma's death was very. I thought it was a good death. Uncle Eddie died. He had a chair with a cooler in it, and he basically sat in it for years. And
So he had a good life, is what you mean.
Yeah, we always said that he could, if he would have had a recliner pooper, that would have been the way to
Like
go.
one of those with the cup holders everywhere.
No, full on open up ice chest.
Oh,
in the arm.
That's living. That's living.
And she said we should actually, if he could just have put a toilet there, he never would have had to got it. Yes, he did
who
anyway.
knows? He got up to go to the bathroom.
And he did anyway.
We don't know.
So Eddie died under weird circumstances, so Kathy, his sister, was at the house, and she came and she called me. She said, "I just saw Eddie standing in my hallway." And she walked in, saw him standing there, and he nodded to her, and then she hit the light, and he was gone.
Well, he's never standing, right? He was never standing anyway.
I was like, was he in his recliner?
That's not, it's a vision. When
So when I first lost my mom, my 40th birthday happened not long after that. And so that was really tough for me that she wasn't there. It feels like people should be there for these more momentous things.
I agree.
And so 40 was a big birthday and she wasn't there. And I have thought about this a lot, but never really was sure that it was a thing. I just know that until I was reading some of this stuff, that I ran upstairs to our bedroom. We were getting ready to go and I was grabbing my shoes or a jacket. It was like a quick upstairs and gone.
Right.
And not even like really thinking about her specifically. Just, I got to go get and I ran up into our bedroom and the weirdest feeling instantly, I was like running out and I just stopped. And I know this sounds hokey, but
mumbo jumbo.
Humbo jumbo.
It's humbo, yeah.
I have never
humbo.
experienced anything like this where I felt something and I felt surrounded by it, and this very oddly golden light filled the room. It was like almost, I've said since then, like it was like rose gold, and the room became very warm.
So it's Steve Jobs?
And I was running out and I stopped. Like it was so out of the ordinary that I just stopped.
Like you were, and there was a presence?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. And I just became like, it was very warm and this gold hue just filled the room. And I just stood there with my head down and just sat with it. And like, it was so quiet. I was just hearing myself breathe.
Did you feel calm?
And I didn't want to leave, but I had been there. I mean, I must have sat there 20 minutes, I think. And then I just said, okay. And I got up and I said, I love you. And I walked out. I went back up again because I was kind of like, I just wanted to see, and it was gone.
So it felt like the presence of mom.
It was
like
not
the same calming.
Daylight. It was like turning into evening. We were going out for my birthday, and that the light was the weirdest feeling. So I then was reading this, and it says that a golden hued light is highly reported among people that say that they've experienced these ADCs.
Well, let's go back through time. If you talk about like even the pictures of Jesus, it's always a golden light. It's angels, a golden light. It's always made me mean this. I'm not saying that people are making that up. I'm saying that if this is a thing, it's pretty consistent through history then.
That was really weird. It was like something that grabbed me. I wasn't looking for it. And
right. You were on the way out, and I was probably in the car going, what?
I'm sure you were honking.
What? You saw a light?
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's his move.
Where did mom bury the gold?
I've been waiting for her to come back and tell me.
I had him. So here's what happened with me. My dad died. We all went into high gear because we were fighting his current wife and stuff. And the day of the funeral, after everything it was like nonstop. I had to my brother Dave went crazy a little bit, and I had to kind of calm him down. And then we're driving to the funeral that day, and I was on my side. I had the Dodge Viper that I left at his house, and his favorite song of all time, I Can See Clearly Now, was playing. And this is going to choke me up again. And I'll never. And again, this may be me looking for something, But what happened? Well, I have 2 incidences on this day. This happened twice. So we're coming over this overpass, and it'd been raining like crazy, and the sky opened up. And the lyric in the song is, "There is the rainbow I've been praying for." And as I'm going up over the Maori overpass, it just goes literally on the lyric of the song. Now, pretty weird coincidence. I really did feel the presence of my father. I really I felt it.
It's very odd. And
but it was almost like everything focused on
I've never
it.
told anyone that. I don't even know if I've told you about that. Have I?
No.
Because I know, I get it. I'm one of those people that's like, oh, that's so.
I hate humbo jumbo.
It was the strangest thing ever. And it was so peaceful. And it was like, I'm here with you, like it was very odd. But then I started researching for today's podcast, and people were saying that a golden, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so weird.
So, also, great excuse for running late.
And here's the second.
I saw.
Yeah, exactly. My mom, I've been waiting for mom.
Change my clothes 5 times.
I chilled with
I
mom.
will use that.
So then we get to the funeral. And it hit me in the chest hard. Like it was really nothing else had hit me like that. It was like, it felt like, okay, either now, if I was looking for it, totally get that. I'm totally willing to.
That's the thing that, yes,
totally
I wasn't looking. I was
totally
in a
willing to accept
hurry.
it.
My husband was annoyed and people were waiting. We had
like, what?
We had a massive party bus outside and I was just grabbing, and it was like, yes.
Yeah. So then we went to the funeral and my Uncle Les got up and started doing what he did.
Giving his alibi for serial killing.
And my sister looks at me like, what? Because he giving the alibi. He talked for 20 minutes about him. He didn't talk about my dad.
Yeah.
And then everybody's kind of kept turning like, is he going to end? And Jack, who was a producer on Titus, looks at me and just goes, and I go, yeah. And at that moment, they turn back around. My sister turned back around, and I hear I'm on the end because I was going up and I was introducing everybody during the service.
Yeah.
And right here, I hear, the fuck is he talking about in my dad's voice?
In your head, like it, or was it from outside?
No, it was outside. It was my dad was 6'3". It was from here and there was nobody there. And he said, the fuck is he talking about? And that's when I gave him the rap signal. I was like, if dad's here going, he's fucking up my funeral. And that's when I looked at Uncle Les and I went,
you got the rap sign at the funeral. So the guy, the researcher, Ken Vincent, that studied the 1,667 reports, and I said about 20.1% were found to be evidential. So meaning that there were one of 3 different types of evidence. First, there were experiences in which a person sensed or saw the death of a person and then found out that they had died. So we've heard people say that people appeared to them.
They saw them and then, oh, wow.
And they weren't the people that killed them?
Well, that would be a loophole in this study. You're right.
I saw your death.
What? I'm pretty sure his ex saw his death often. Second, some of the experiences provided evidence that was later confirmed. So in one woman that he studied, this grandmother had a vivid dream in which she was having tea with the other grandmother of her grandchildren who had just died. That other grandmother warned her that their granddaughter was in danger because her boyfriend was violent. She said that she was nervous to speak to her, but found out, and the girl admitted that yes, he threatened to kill her and was beating her. And so it's like there were people received information they could not have gotten.
That's one that makes me see it, like, or someone will have a dream and they'll be like, someone will go, you have to call this person right now. And you call that person and go, right. Why are you calling me? Yeah, we just lost Steve. What, you know what? I mean, I do.
My family, we've all done that a lot.
Grandpa
but
Titus
not dead.
Yeah, but that was more
not when we were dead. That was more like, I didn't mean, but like, my family, especially with my mom, not my dad, have had this connection where my mom would call me and say, what's wrong? Or my sister knows. Or a couple months ago, something happened with my sister and I feel so restless kind of. And so I called her.
I have to call.
And she was like, I knew you were going to call. I told my husband you were going to call.
That's like all those reports with twins. When twins can somehow are emotionally connected or can feel the same thing. Like
maybe it's the beginning of our evolution into telepathy. Maybe. Not the dying stuff, but my grandpa Titus had this where he would actually show up. He was in the military. He actually got honorably discharged because he would go AWOL and he would show up at grandma's house, and he did it three times. Every single time one of the kids had a broken arm or had a 104 fever, he would just show up. What's wrong?
Last week, I called you too. I was tripping. Do you remember the day I called you because I couldn't find him?
Oh yeah.
And I was at the dermatologist and I was hit in the gut that something is wrong. Something is wrong. And I didn't know with whom. And I couldn't find him. He was in the wind. He's always in the wind.
No, I am not.
He was getting a massage. And so his phone was off and I didn't know that. And I just knew somebody. And so I called my dad, who's 81, who I worry about a lot. And he had gone to the doctor. He had COVID and strep throat.
He's still bad.
And he's very sick. But I still called you and I was like, I need you to tell him to call me because I feel like there's something else. Like I get those feelings a lot that doesn't have to do with death, but there's so much that we can explain. And so to the person that wrote the comment about, oh, you guys are doing
Humbo jumbo.
I'm just saying there are things that we cannot explain, and yes, grandma, while she was transitioning.
You were there during this one.
Yeah. So we've talked about that in the context of terminal lucidity, where when someone's dying, they see people that have gone before them. But she was being visited in a very physical manner by my grandfather. And I watched her in real time, see him, talk to him. She wasn't. Her brain was fine at that point. Yep. She was transitioning. She was, weaker, spoke less engaged, but grandma was still in there. I had taken her out on the porch.
She was on the death train. She was going.
But she had asked, she wanted to go out on the porch and sit and, cause she was, even though it was like 25 degrees, and she saw him, she said hi to him. I watched her smile like someone who had lost their husband of 55 years and had not seen him in 10, because that's what happened.
Yeah, that's crazy.
She sat up and the biggest smile, and she just said, hey, like that. And I said, I disturbed it. I shouldn't have. I regret it. But I said, who is it, Grandma? I didn't disturb it like, there's no one there, you asshole. I just said, who is it, Grandma? And she said, it's Bobby. Wow. He's come to take me home. That's what she told me.
Wow.
A lot of times too.
I got you in the chest a bit.
But the coolest thing too is that I think about that a lot. She had waited for him. She knew why he was there. He had also waited for her. He was there to be with her for that part of it. I just thought that was so beautiful. She never dated. She never remarried. She never anything.
I think my dad was wanted to see how his funeral was going to turn out. He talked about it a lot.
Grandma wanted a man with a full head of hair who would take her to dinner, buy her a gift or two, and not want sex.
And leave her alone.
And so Grandma stayed single for the next 11 years.
Was the backyard like a special spot for them? Like the swing?
They always would sit on the porch swing. That was her favorite place to be. That's where she read her Kindle every day. It's where we would have our coffee and swing together. And we were always, that was their thing. And he had helped build that porch and it was a screened in part. And he was, it was either that or the Golden Corral. And so I guess he didn't.
She couldn't make it to the Golden Corral. So either the porch, but the porch was their kind of loving place where they sat together all the time.
Yeah.
So interesting.
In the evenings. Yeah.
I imagine there's a lot of sightings at the Golden Corral.
Yeah. Do you have any of this? Yeah.
People that choked there. At the Golden Corral. Another thing that people repeat is, or have often said in this study is smells. Scents. And I think I've talked about this, but with my Uncle Wayne, who passed away very suddenly at 59, that my sister and I stayed in his house after, and this was my very first experience with this. And I was in my early 20s and I was even more skeptical of everything than I am now. And I was very hardlined. Oh, I was young and immature and stupid. And I was like, nothing exists. It's all fake. And, that was fun is what I'm saying. But my uncle, periodically throughout that weekend, my sister and I stayed in his house. There was one cloud of his cologne in the exact same spot. And she and I were like, And she'd go, okay, walk away. And we'd go back to this very open space, but this very specific cloud contained would be his cologne in this space. And I definitely felt like that weekend that if I stopped, somebody would run into me. It was the weirdest feeling, but I wasn't scared.
Right.
It wasn't a bad feeling,
right.
But there was a presence in the house. And then I told you the blood kept coming back on the carpet. We would clean it and
Explain
it would come back.
You told him that. Tell this story.
Wait.
Tell this story. This is weird.
So,
it's weird that there's blood on the carpet. Continue.
Well, so my dad's father died on the beach at Normandy at 22.
Uh-huh.
He never met my Uncle Wayne, and my dad was 2. Uncle Wayne was born while he was over there. And so anyway, he had a lethal heart disease that we didn't know ran in our family because they never got to know their dad's side of the family. My grandma, I guess the story is, and we talked about this last time about when people die, how weird people get about money and stuff. Well, he had not changed his death benefits from his mother. He had only been married 2 years and he was 22. He's an idiot. And so his mother got his death benefits. Well, my grandmother has these 2, an infant and a 2-year-old boys. Now she's a single mom in the 40s, and the woman wouldn't give it to her. So my grandmother said, okay, and never spoke to that side of the family ever again. My dad never knew. He had tons of uncles and cousins and aunts, and he knows them.
Again, can we please talk again how fucking weird death makes people? That's crazy.
Yeah. So cut that woman out, but let him see all the other ones. So anyway, we didn't know. My uncle went and ran 6 miles, very, very athletic. Told his buddy he was feeling bad, came back, obviously had put a cold cloth on his head because it was by the bed, and got up to go to the bathroom naked. Had, I guess, a massive heart attack, pitched forward, banged his head on the bathtub, and bled out on the carpet. And that's where they found him. Yep. And so we had it cleaned, pulled, steamed, everything, dried, fine. It was dry. It was not wet. My sister and I are...
No stain. Can't see a stain.
No, it was perfect. And we went out to dinner that night and came back, walked through that cloud of cologne. This was like our first experience with that. And we were like, holy crap. He smelled really good though. And my sister goes in and she's older. So she goes, stop, and throws her arms out to stop me from coming in. And I was like, what? Tell me right now. What is it? And she goes, the blood is back. And it had come back. It was like, and this happened 3 times that week that we were there. It was like the crazy. And then she and I realized it meant us no ill will, whatever it was. It was like...
How do I let them know I'm still here? The cologne thing seems to be working.
If it came back and said red rum or something.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Could you pick something a little less horror movie? Do you mind? I like the cologne. Nice touch.
He might have been being funny.
Yeah.
I very few times in my life, usually under high stress situations, I have heard my dad's voice. But
do you think that's because we're looking for it?
I think sometimes I think grief. Listen, man, serious, hardcore grief is, especially if someone's taken fast and surprisingly, like when you don't expect it, you're someone young. I think sometimes your body goes to, your brain tries to save you. I think some of that, that's my theory. I swear to God, though, that thing going over the thing was my dad's favorite song was on the radio. Rainbow appeared at the same time, and I felt him. I was like, oh shit. And then at the funeral, and then after the funeral, I never felt him again, really, except for a few times in my life since then that I've heard is that in my head, something's going on. And
there is advice. A feeling, there's a presence.
Yeah.
When we went back to my uncle's house a month later to get his things that we had picked out,
gone.
The house was empty. I went back kind of expecting to feel him there again. It was just a cold, empty house. There was nothing there.
I will occasionally get like a scent of stale beer.
It's your dad.
So
Dad.
Dad.
Really? Do you really?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, I feel like you would be the first one to discount all signs of your father. You'd be like, that asshole.
He's come to me in dreams.
Really?
Yes. And this is how I knew it was a dream, because he was just normal and was a nice...
But maybe he is now.
Yeah, if you made it to the other side, man, I mean, supposedly all the shit that held you down here, supposedly
all the parts of you that were broken.
What
has he said something to you? Because I want to talk about dreams too. I have.
Oh, let me think back. Nothing specific, but just like, get encouragement things and
really
things that I would imagine that
you would wish that.
Instead of being the demon that he was in real life.
But has he encouraged you at times that you needed it, and then you dreamt your dad saying, "Hey"?
No.
Come on, give me something. Okay, Ken's dad was a real asshole. In case you didn't get that,
I want to ask you about. So, what are they saying? So, is it possible that it's just? Okay, so people that think this, people that actually believe in this, because I'm very skeptical. I just know that on those days, and I'm totally willing to say it was me wanting him to be there still. What do they like? Is there, okay, let's say death. Is there, and the thing with grandma made me go, that's the one thing, because you were sitting there, made me go, uh-oh, maybe there is something. What do people do? Like, what do people think the theory is? There's this little kid on Instagram. Have you seen this little kid on Instagram? Supposedly he's like this old soul. And they keep interviewing, put these things. He's talking about, well, the aliens, he's like 7 and he's playing Legos. And he's like, well, the aliens, there's 4 different kinds. And he talks and he goes, no, heaven exists. He goes, but it's just a place. It's bright light. And we live in the dark. We live this earth where we live as humans. In this, you gotta watch this little kid. I'm like, you're 7. How the fuck? Like,
yeah.
His parents must be assholes.
Yeah, just let's film him again. Yeah. So is there anybody who has a theory about? Because like Uncle Wayne, you didn't feel the presence anymore. My dad, we didn't feel the presence anymore. But that day we did. Did they hang around for a minute? Do you think that's possible?
Well,
and then Bobby coming back to get grandma, that she saw that again, is that her brain trying to save her?
She saw him. I saw her be surprised that he was there, and then so happy to see him again for the first time. Wow. She just was overcome with emotion. And then she's a cynic like I am, and she looked at me when I said, "Who is it?" And then she looked back at him. And then she looked back at me and she said, well, that must not have been right? Because you're here. So she sensed by me being there and me probably looking at her with, my face, like, that something was off.
I just flashed back to yesterday.
It was this morning. And I don't know, like I have wanted to communicate with my mom, to see my mom, to dream about her. I have not had her in 6 years now, almost 6 years.
Oh, interesting.
And I've never dreamt about her until last week, right before Christmas, for the first time in my entire life.
Well, because she loved you in real life.
Just a little upside,
really
background on this. So Ray's been, since mom died, she's like, why do I hear all these stories of people visiting and my mom won't come to me? My mom,
just in my dreams.
Well, first of all, mom's organizing wherever she is. She's
busy.
She's talking to everybody.
No, she's planning a talent show.
Yeah, she's planning a talent show.
She's painting something. Everyone's doing a song. It's
So you've been complaining about this. Why won't my mom come talk to me? I hear all these people that say this. And then what happened last week?
So last week, I woke up in the morning and couldn't fall back to sleep. And I do that all the time. I just lay there for 2 hours or whatever. And I fell back to sleep. No, I'm not. I fell back to sleep and I dreamt about my mom. Now, I have had her in my dreams since then, but her head's always turned and she's always sick or dying all over again. It's never like her being with me. And it was really odd. I can't believe I'm even sharing this. It's so personal to me, but you brought it up. I knew that I was in bed. Mm-hmm. I knew I was on my left side. I knew that I was finally being able to see her in my dream state. I was very aware of all of that. And she was there and she was young and just beautiful and happy and really oddly peaceful. I really got that we were not on the same plain. It was like, and she never spoke that I know of. And I just stood and I looked at her and I saw her and she was smiling at me like so beatifically. And then I burst into tears, panicking, like, oh my gosh, Mom, oh my God. And her whole face changed, like kind of like this, like she didn't
blew it again.
Understand why I was upset. And it upset her. She didn't want that. I could tell. Yeah. And I remember I was trying to calm down because it obviously upset her. And I also knew that as long as I wanted to be with her, I was going to be able to be with her, but that I needed not to think too much about the fact that I was in bed sleeping because I would wake myself up. I remember thinking, like, don't focus on that too much.
I love that your personality comes through in this. She overthinks everything consistently.
I wanted it to last.
I know, but instead of just enjoying it, I love that you went into another gear. And you're wait, I don't want to wake up because this. What if I wake up? I'm losing. Yeah.
She wasn't like, see, this is why I don't show up in your dreams.
I'm not saying it's so bad. I'm not saying it's bad.
I was enjoying it. I didn't want it to end. So I was being very careful to not wake myself up. And I was just being with her. And it went on for about 3 hours. And then I thought I need to go ahead and get up. I knew it was late. I didn't know what time it was. And so I got up. It was like 11 something.
I remember I was you don't sleep. She doesn't sleep well. So she sleeps that late. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Oh.
And then you're hanging out with Mom.
I was just, and not talking, just being with her. I don't know. Have you ever seen or heard anybody that's passed on?
Yeah, there was this woman.
This is going to be real. I don't believe
anything. It's real.
I love that. Making it up. No, we always worry that you got into an improv class.
Whenever you go,
fun facts.
And there's a thing that okay. So I was in Colorado, and I was a garbage man. What? He's doing an improv.
This is real.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I feel like you should preface everything if it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked with this this woman who was kind of like a second mom to me. Mm-hmm. And right before I moved to California, she had gotten what was it called? Gastric bypass surgery. And she was like feeling positive and everything's going to work out. She just got it. She was like, Al Roker did it and I'm going to do it. And right before I left, she was like complaining, like she was like losing like sensations or whatever. And she thought nothing of it. Oh, shit. And then I moved and I had worked with her for like a good decade. Mm-hmm. And, she was my mom's age and I spent so much time with her. I worked directly with her. So I was close to her. I went to dinner at her house and things like that.
What if she was really got hugely fat and then she had to have the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say something around her house eating with her? Hey.
No. Wow, you eat a lot. Somebody doesn't need seconds.
Hey, Al Roker did a thing.
There you go. So what happened?
So I was on the road. I was on the freeway and a colleague from work had called and said, her name was Lee. Lee just passed away.
Like that?
Yeah.
Just on the table? Or after?
No, she was complaining about the sensation and then she went to see the doctor and then she apparently she passed away. Wow. Like there wasn't any it was complications from the
right.
It was
surgery.
They messed up her surgery.
Yeah. So since then, I had dreams where she would show up and do we'd have conversations and I was working with her again.
Wow.
She's the only one that I can think of that.
Is there any really
what? Hold on.
That somebody that I knew that passed away that showed up again on a regular basis.
But that was like the only parental figure in your life that was kind to you, right?
Our mom's age. You just nailed it. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting that you just nailed that. That was his kind of pseudo mom. You worked with her a long time. She obviously liked you, took care of you, to a degree. Wow, that's interesting.
I mean, my actual mom was not. She wasn't my dad. She was nice.
Oh, your mom.
She's still alive. So
I was like, did she die?
She can't show up.
Why are we saying was? Is she? You read a lot about how, and people will say this to me too, like, oh, she's in the hummingbird and the feather that blew down the street. I have a friend that told me all about the feather and butterflies. And I always think, but they also have to fly too. Like it can't always be dead people, because also there are butterflies, right? Like hummingbirds might show up if you have flowers or whatever.
Well, that's the weird thing about this, is that it's such there's a lot of weird experiences in humanity and in the human being, but there's a great joke. I forget who was doing it. Someone was talking. Oh, I think it was Ricky Gervais. Was talking about how people, there was this party where everybody was supposed to come as who they were in an earlier life. And he just goes, 2 Napoleons. Which is like, it's so brilliant, and like, oh, right.
I do just think that like people obviously look for it, and I understand why, because you do, when you lose somebody that you really care about, you desperately want to reconnect with them. We'll be right back, but you need to know this episode is brought to you by
HelloFresh. Yes.
HelloFresh is a very close personal friend of ours.
It really is. We've hung out with HelloFresh for a couple years. We
really have. They have not let us down yet. I always, in any relationship, expect them to let me down. So HelloFresh is a meal delivery service, yeah. but you cook the meal, and they show you exactly how to cook the meal. You don't have to leave your house. Nope. It comes to your door, and it's fresh, seasonal ingredients separated. Each recipe is in its own bag. You get the recipe card too. They run you through everything. You basically have all the exact amount of ingredients. And I will say this: follow the recipe. Every time we have it, there's not one. Okay, so we've had maybe 30 or 40 different entrees from that? At least, yeah.
So, okay, I always say this. It makes you look at the food. You take a bite and you go,
what?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, we have had some stuff, and sometimes I'll tell you. So you can,
it's stuff that I didn't.
You can pick how many meals a day and for a week, and how many people. And so we often will do for 4 people. So we have leftovers, and then we eat it all.
And then it doesn't make it to the next.
There's
day.
No leftovers, but it is. Sometimes you can pick your meals every week. Their website, you can go look at them, click, read about them, full color, and or you can let them pick, which we've done a lot because I forget. And sometimes I'll get the recipe card and I'm like, I don't know about that. And every single time it is insane. Just go to HelloFresh.com/KnockEmDeadFree. Use promo code KnockEmDeadFree and you'll get free breakfast for life. You get 1 free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's a free breakfast item for life at HelloFresh.com/KnockEmDeadFree using promo code KnockEmDeadFree, America's #1 meal kit. But some things in my mind are inexplicable, but also we could explain this away too. Probably you kind of explain away your rainbow sometimes. I was driving home from Pilates, and it was Mother's Day. And this was an early Mother's Day, maybe the first or the second one.
She sobbed through Pilates, which is, I'm just kidding, probably. Yes,
so do I.
Yeah.
But not for
I think I
someone
did
dying.
cry at the end of it, though. So I got in the car, and I decided to self-flagellate by listening to You Can Call Me Al. That's not what self-flagellate means.
What'd you say?
What? Beat yourself up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dear God.
Okay.
Whip herself.
So I put on You Can Call Me Al because that was one of my mom's big time songs. All she wants to do is dance, and You Can Call Me Al. And I decided for the first time since I lost her, it must have been the first Mother's Day, I'm going to listen to that.
That whole Glenn Frey album was one of her favorite albums, wasn't it?
Glenn Frey?
Wasn't it Glenn Frey?
Dear God.
What's the other guy?
Paul Simon.
Are you okay?
No, Paul Simon. No,
Don
the other
Henley.
guy. No, Don Henley. That's what.
Dear Lord, have mercy.
They were in the same band.
How
Leave me alone.
Dare you ever mistake Don Henley for anyone else?
I love you, Don Henley. I beat the hell out of that cassette. I love that cassette.
Oh, Mom. Oh, so a cassette. We'll talk about that later. Speaking of things that have died. So I go on my music list on my phone, and I go to You Can Call Me Al, and I hit play, and it clicks back and starts some other song that I don't have. I don't know it. And I'm actually on my playlist. I call it snowboarding because it's my snowboarding playlist. And so I hit play again, and it starts playing the beginning of a song I don't know. This happens like 5 or 6 times, and the light has turned green, and I can't look at my phone anymore. I'm driving home. And so whatever this song is starts to play that I don't have on my playlist. and it's called Mother and Child Reunion by Paul Simon. See, I've never heard that song before in my life until this day. A mother and child's reunion where she's saying, "Don't worry now, little girl, it's only a moment away," or emotion in one of the verses. And it's about a mother and her daughter reuniting. And I'm like ignoring it, like totally annoyed that my song won't play and I'm driving, and because that's how I drive. And I heard the words and my whole body just went cold. And so I let the song finish. I'm, of course, sobbing as I'm listening to the words of it. I actually went home to look up the words.
I remember you getting home. I remember this day specifically. She was freaked out. She goes, I couldn't. Okay, I can back this story up. She was like, it wouldn't play. She goes, I don't know this song. I don't have this song. What is this song? And I said, oh, I know this song.
Yeah.
But the connection of Paul Simon, and she was like, you didn't play a couple of times? Like you couldn't get it off.
No. That time, I tried so many times to get You Can Call Me Out to play. It wouldn't play. And it wasn't on the Paul Simon iTunes list. I was in my playlist and it wouldn't play. And it plays a song I've never heard before. It's that song where he's saying, "Don't worry, little darling, so it's only a moment away. We're going to be back together again." So then when the song's over, I am like, so I think because I'm a cynic, something's wrong with my music list. Let me go try and play that song again. And I hit You Can Call Me Al, and instantly, dun, 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 and it started playing the song. But it wouldn't let me play the song until I listened. It was the weirdest freaking thing. I called my brother.
Your mom was illegally downloading songs.
Yeah,
this is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mom went to Napster.
This was the death Napster.
I just want everyone to know that we're not doing I'm not a humbo jumbo. I'm not at all. I'm a comedian. We're all cynical, and there's been moments in my life where weird things have happened where you just I don't want to go get us some neon and open up a building.
Nope.
But
that no one ever goes to.
Yeah.
2 empty chairs all the time.
But there is
talking about unexplained phenomena. So a lot of people throughout history believed in this. One of them, most notably, being Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, when he first invented the phonograph,
he was struck by lightning
in 1877. He decided after that he was going to create a different type of machine, one that belonged to those who were dead. He called it a spirit phone, one that was capable of talking to the dead. And I don't believe that he ever achieved that, but he spent a lot of his life.
I just literally heard Nikola Tesla laughing right here.
He said, Thomas Edison said,
he already invented that and he copied it.
It was done. Yeah.
He believed in the idea of life units. In a nutshell, 100 trillion of life units make up a human being and keep us functioning. He said, when we die, the life units move on to someone else.
This is the plot to Tron, isn't this?
Life units. Interesting.
That was his hypothesis.
It's weird. Eddie Griffin, a comedian, he said energy cannot die. It just goes somewhere else. And there is something self-animating about human beings. We are an animal, whatever. But
we are electrical. We're a battery.
Yeah, and don't we lose 28 grams when we die? Like instantly, they literally die. Yep. Bam, 28 grams lighter.
Yep.
That's weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mae West, Queen Victoria. She went into her mourning period when her husband died. It actually lasted until the end of her life, which was like 40 years later. She was fun to be around as well. But she spent a lot of time trying to contact him with a medium. Mediums used to be a thing.
That was a big thing.
Especially during that time. She said that, she arranged a seance because he kept telling other people in a seance that he had a message for her. And so she didn't believe at first. So he had a secret pet name for her. And apparently he used that pet name to get her to come. So she started performing seances at Buckingham Palace.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And would hold seances to get his advice in political matters.
What's the science? What does science say about this? Because someone's got to have spent some more time in it.
Well, I think that's kind of what we've talked about, like that guy that did the study of the 1600 and some change people.
But there's any neuroscience doctors that are basically going, well, it's your brain trying to make you feel better. That's probably
So we remember a couple times ago we talked about I forget which episode it was, maybe terminal lucidity, where they were trying to explain and they said all things pertaining to end of life and death, they have zero, they don't know. It's one of the only things in science that scientists are unable to explain. Because how would you? The closest we have are people dying and then coming back and telling us, and there's a lot
so
of...
when I die, I'm going to give her permission, hook some electrodes up, let's do this.
Yeah, get it right.
Guys, let's I won't get to be on the podcast after that to see what it said, but
I just think we should plan something.
It has to be right
like,
before.
If one of us goes first...
Didn't Houdini do this?
Houdini, but I thought she never heard from him, right?
No.
She wanted to,
but when Houdini was alive, he went and dispelled all this. He would go to mediums and dispel it. Mm-hmm. And then he said, on Halloween every year, I want you to do this.
Yes.
And see if I can come back. And he never did.
He never did. His wife tried to contact him on their anniversary.
He was tied up. He was tied up. He couldn't get out of it.
God. In San Jose. There's a theater that's now the Improv that we work. It's an old vaudeville theater in San Jose, California. And they always say that Houdini haunts the theater. And we're always like, I'm pretty sure he's not hanging out in San Jose.
He's probably done Carnegie Hall and stuff. Why is he coming to San Jose? Unless he's still on tour again.
He did prove that most mediums were frauds. He told Bass, this is kind of what we're saying, that if he could communicate with her, he would come back if he died first, and he gave her a code. Oh, I guess this is what I was about to propose. She stopped after 10 years. She said 10 years, she was quoted as saying, 10 years was long enough to wait for any man. She sounds like a romantic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also,
sounds like a hoe. She waited 10 years. Not a serious hoe. Not a serious hoe. But she was like, I need to get this Hootie dealt with. 10 years. It's a long.
Did you just call her vagina a Houdini?
A Hootie. I said Hootie.
Oh.
That's, by the way, that's where.
Houdini?
Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
Somebody up on this Houdini.
You know, on this Houdini.
Mary Todd Lincoln, too. She actually was famous for having the first seances in the White House.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So they lost their son of typhoid fever, and that's when she started. And then 3 years later, he got assassinated. Lincoln got assassinated. So she found seances to be so comforting that she started holding them at the White House. According to the White House Historical Association, she had at least, they know of, 8 seances.
In the White House.
Mm-hmm. They said before the president died, he came to the ones for their son, Willie. Willie.
Speaking of vaginis or whatever.
Hootie-deenies.
Hootie-deenies and willies.
Get up off my hootie-deenie.
And you touch my willy.
I don't know. There's something about, I do remember Kenny saying when my mom passed away, where did the energy go?
Yeah.
Energy doesn't dissipate. So how do you...
A lot of people that believe a lot of weird stuff about dying, that you go to, this kid on Instagram, what happens when you die? And he goes, well,
don't you feel like, though, that's his parents just getting a great account to get views and it pays their bills?
I would make my kids He's
say
watching
all
some
kinds
great
of stuff.
PBS specials or something.
Does Instagram pay you like that? I didn't know that, because I'll make some shit up too.
Yes, Instagram pays for views. Yes. You're not on that?
I'm not. I don't think are we hooked up to that?
I think you get invited like for a window, and then you apply to it, and you go, no.
I kept getting invited, and I was like, I don't like social media now.
Yeah, true.
He was invited. I got to go look into your account, homeboy.
I'll make up some crazy shit to get views.
Science has no evidence whether or not ghosts are real. They have no explanations. 1 in 5 Americans say they physically encountered a ghost, because that would be something different. That's not somebody that knows you.
But Kathy with Uncle Eddie, I think some of his people.
But she knew him.
Well, I know, but I don't think it's a Stephen King ghost. I think that the people that listen, I would like to believe. I don't think this. I would like to believe that the people that love you hang for a second to say goodbye. My dad was always up for a party. That's what he wanted. My theory is he wanted to hang out for his funeral. He knew he wanted it to be funny. He didn't want it to be dark. He didn't want it to be sad. And so he was like, all right, asshole. Go ahead. And then he made me, he was like, he wanted to make sure I got through it. Heckled his brother. By the way, my dad was it's so consistent. Like, let's say I invented that because I knew how he dealt with Uncle Les, but it was so consistent. The fuck is he talking about? He was telling a story about my dad that that was an alibi for he got beat up by two guys for annoying this girl.
Did he know it was being recorded? Is that what this is like trying to like?
No, it wasn't. But he was letting 200 people know that.
Put the story out there.
Let me get the story out here. Yeah, which is what a criminal does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about people that like supposedly just hang around in these old houses? Like that always seems a bit
Those are
of a
contractors.
stretch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 2 years after their original end date, they're still there.
Never finished. Never finished.
Those to me, I've never been. I know people that are terrified of ghosts. I love ghost haunted tours and stuff, not because I've ever considered them to be real.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? It'd be so comforting. Like,
fun.
it's real. It's an
but what if
afterlife.
it's a
Yeah,
mean
there's not to
one?
be a bad side though. There have to be a bad side like Stephen King's side too.
Yeah, but some people are still wearing cologne.
Exactly.
I mean, they're still.
For a ghost, he smells nice. He's not a rotting skeleton. This guy.
You got a
blood
warm
thing
glow.
would be a bit much.
Yeah.
We should have ghost hunters on here and ask them
Yeah.
because certainly people
That
swear
changes
up and
the
down.
podcast a lot.
I know, but we don't have to believe in it.
All right.
I don't know. Albert Einstein was one of the greatest scientific minds of all time.
What did he think?
He talked about energy. He said Einstein proved that all the energy of the universe is constant and that it can neither be created nor destroyed. So what happens to that energy when we die? If it cannot be destroyed, it must then, according to Dr. Einstein, be transferred into another form of energy. So Einstein's laws supposedly prove that there is something after.
Well, they say that when you die, you pass gas, so maybe that's a form of energy.
Yeah, that
You
is.
don't just pass gas. We won't do an
Methane?
episode on that, but your body does evacuate.
That is energy.
Everybody out!
That's
And that's
not
what I'm saying.
energy.
That's the energy it turns into. Fertilizer. It turns you into. You let go with your fertilizer.
He
Move on.
says energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only change from one form to another. When we are alive, he said, we physically have electrical energy in our bodies. What happens to that electricity that was in our body, causing our heart to beat and making our breathing possible? There is no easy answer for that.
So when you
I like that Einstein was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
like the
I mean, I
smartest
got
guy.
this thing,
Listen,
but meh.
I figured out all this other shit. This one,
There's wormholes, there's black holes, there must
I
be.
know how to fold
That's where
time
everybody
and
goes.
space, but dying, you know what? Shut up. I don't want to talk about it.
You know the static when your hair gets.
Watch this balloon. Gonna put a see.
Hold
The
on,
balloon
let me
sticks in my head.
There's some
Ta-da! Einstein has a shitty
Theory of
magician.
relativity.
I like Einstein as a children's party magician. Hello, everybody.
I don't know. This is kind of interesting. He said when we eat dead plants and animals, we're consuming energy and our bodies convert it into another use for our bodies.
Right.
I don't know. This is why some people say you shouldn't get cremated because then the energy can only be transferred into light. It's all a little hokey for me, but
I don't mind. I think I don't mind being composted. I don't think I mind being composted. I wanted to be cremated because my ashes could be spread, but I don't mind being composted.
well, if
Chop me up though, and don't compost me in one place.
they're
let's help
like
all
my
the
neighbor,
places.
like my
spread it
neighbor did. He was composting
Our
his
neighbor.
wife.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, So
And her
he's-
parents.
He's transferring energy.
yeah.
Yes.
That's
I like when
murderous.
that
serial
would be
killers
my defense in court.
I like when
Your
serial
Honor, I was transferring energy.
Yeah.
So
But I like
Einstein,
when serial killers are green. Like, he
he
was like,
cannot be
I was
here.
making the tree is growing like a crazy.
I'm very eco-friendly. right.
Composting companies now, we had a lady, I told you guys, I think that was going to be on, but they take you can pay for your own compost spot, and then they will send the bucks back to the family once it's
They'll send what back?
ready. A
Bugs
box
back?
to scatter
box
or whatever.
back. Got it.
Or you can choose on your thing when you pay for the composting before you die that you can be spread in a national forest to help trees grow.
I heard you
I
can
like that.
you can sign up to become a tree. You can be. I don't know how you do that. You
Transferring
sign-
energy.
that's-
press
I
into a
love it.
seed. And
Energy.
Right.
You can sign up to become a tree. I just heard my son go, that sounds awesome. I'm going to be a tree.
What
So
kind
it's
of
when you leave this planet.
Wow. There we go.
I
There
didn't-
we go. There we go. Yeah. You got to branch off into something
Hey-o.
else. Your energy branches off.
Got to put down roots.
You know, to finish, complete the rings. Well, by the way, would you like
That
us
Don't
was
be
it?
such a sap.
By the way,
Okay, all right.
would you like us to stop talking about
Oh my gosh.
this? All right. We really annoyed the shit out of
Okay.
it.
She's
I
really
don't know.
barking at us.
The
That didn't work.
idea of composting, it's I don't love it. I don't love the idea of being buried. I know I won't be there specifically, but maybe.
Yeah,
although
I think it might be. Yeah, I'd like to be burned at 2,200.
I was going to
degrees.
say,
Yeah.
although if you actually think about that, that's also not pleasant. But the idea
Yeah,
of
you're going to
like,
be dead. You're not going to know.
wouldn't it freaks me out. So I didn't do it with my mom and maybe I again overthink everything, but to think about someone I love being buried and what happens to that body. I would rather it have already been
Yeah.
converted into
Yeah.
ash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a lot of energy.
I know you don't love anyone, but if you did, maybe.
try to
You love
imagine
your
it.
son.
He's been broken.
You love
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
That's one.
Even then he was like,
Oh, he's
Okay.
like, right. Yeah.
Him.
forgot about him. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us for this very odd conversation today.
Please put in the comments anything.
No, don't put anything in the comments.
Anything in the comments. If you had a little thing, it's fine. We'd like to hear
Oh,
these.
yeah, I
We
do
like
wanna know
Yeah.
that.
So in the comments, if you had anything like this, and you can mock us too, but in the comments, just put because we'll talk about them on the next episode.
I would want to know that.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what's happened with other people. For myself, Rachel Bradley, my co-host,
Christopher Titus.
and this little tiger over here.
That's me, the Hylander.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Ken Hyland.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us again. We'll see you next month.
Bye.
Also, bye.